According to a recent study given by the National Center of Health Statistics, approximately 4.2 million women in the United States currently suffer from infertility. According to the same survey, 2 million of these women wish to someday have children. Many of these women are eventually forced to look to some other form of conception, usually in vitro fertilization or surrogacy. Surrogacy has been specifically the subject of legal and ethical debate and was eventually restricted by the National Conference of Commissioners of Uniform State Laws, Uniform Status of Children of Assisted Conception Act that was passed in 1988. In vitro fertilization, on the other hand, has lately been the target of several pro-life and religious organizational groups that claim that it is morally wrong on several different levels. The issue was actually raised when Amendment 48 was proposed in my home state of Colorado. While most people saw this amendment as a ban on abortion, many people failed to see that this amendment could have easily restricted or even banned in vitro fertilization clinics that dispose unused embryos when they're finished. While this amendment eventually was not passed, I believe it is a wake-up call for Americans that support in vitro fertilization. It is now our duty to pass amendments that will completely reverse the Uniform Status of Children of Conception Act and protect the rights of families or individuals wishing to have children either through surrogacy or in vitro fertilization. I believe the first and most important aspect of accepting and supporting these forms of conception is for the public to have a full and complete understanding of the different forms of surrogacy. Overall, surrogacy can be broken down into 3 different categories: traditional, gestational, and donation. Traditional surrogacy uses the eggs of the birth mother and generally artificial insemination. Gestational surrogacy is when the surrogate mother becomes pregnant with the use of the adoptive mother's eggs and then carries the child to term. And finally, donation. Donation is a standard idea that most people have when they think of in vitro fertilization. The surrogate mother donates her eggs to the adoptive mother, and the adoptive mother then becomes pregnant. Much of the controversy surrounding surrogacy is in regards to which parent has legal custody over the child, either biological or adoptive. The most famous and influential surrogacy case was that of baby M, as named by the courts. After a surrogate was paid over $10,000 to carry baby M, conceived with her eggs and the adoptive father's sperm, she gave birth and decided she didn't want to give baby M up. The case made it all the way up to the Supreme Court, who proceeded to compare the surrogacy contract to baby bartering and claiming it violated laws against monetary payment in adoption. The court also claimed that these surrogacy contracts exploited poor women regardless of their own personal consent, because these women can be paid anywhere up to $140,000 for their minimum 9 months of service. It was this court's ruling that led to the creation of the Uniform Status of Children of Assisted Conception Act, and this act specifically addresses surrogacy contracts and allows the state to choose between 2 options it lays out. The first option heavily regulates the wording of these contracts, particularly this outlawing monetary compensation. The other option is to completely outlaw surrogacy contracts in general. While few states have since chosen to adopt this act since birth, I believe that it restricts surrogacy to an unnecessary degree. The best option, in my own opinion, would be instead to revise and republish this act, but instead shift the focus so that it works to both protect surrogacy and provide tighter definitions on the legal status of the adoptive parents who look towards surrogacy. The point in which surrogacy and in vitro fertilization converge in terms of opposition is in the ethical debate. Surrogacy's ethics mainly come down to the belief most people hold that there's a certain bonding between a mother and her child prenatally. But a psychological study shows that while a mother may bond with her child during pregnancy, there's little evidence to show that a child emotionally bonds with their mother before they're born, because most of this bonding comes when the child is being fed and nurtured. In vitro fertilization, on the other hand, is met with a large degree of religious opposition, mainly from pro-life groups that disagree with the disposal of unused embryos. This argument mainly centers on whether or not you believe that life starts at the moment of conception, which in this case is within a test tube. While it may be fairly obvious what I think on the situation, I'll leave that issue up for your own personal debate. Some reports have also shown that while in vitro works to eliminate possible embryos with serious medical dysfunctions before they are implanted, children born from this method are more likely to have a little higher tendency of minor chronic illnesses.
Alternative pregnancy holds a tremendously important part of my life because I was actually an in vitro baby. I'm the product of 7 out of 9 pregnancies, and considering I'm an only child, I figure that particular statistic is somewhat disturbing. Many people, including some of my mother's close friends, have asked why she didn't consider adoption rather than this costly and not necessarily money-back guarantee procedure. In reality, it was actually my father that opposed adopting the baby, but since my mother wanted to have her own child so badly, they resorted to undergo this treatment. This building that we're in right now is Swedish Medical Center, which is home to Colorado Center for Reproductive Medicine, which was actually where I was conceived. And based on my personal experiences as a test tube baby, I can say that I have not felt any of the personal psychological trauma or separateness that so many experts claim that comes with in vitro. In fact, I believe that the knowledge of what my mother had to go through in order to conceive me has made us fundamentally closer as a family. Since my parents are both Catholic and know that the religious boundaries on the subject forbid them from undergoing this treatment, they actually went to see a priest before undergoing the treatment. The priest actually wished them the best in conceiving a child and said that it was God's will for them to undergo this and hopefully have a baby. I've not suffered any of these so-called chronic illnesses that also go with in vitro fertilization besides minor allergies, which I don't think are really connected. Therefore, I cannot see why the creation of human life and creating loving families is a problem in ethics. I believe it is my responsibility to share my story and provide support towards in vitro fertilization and surrogacy as a way of giving back to the process that in turn gave me life.
And so I believe it is now our responsibility as a country to fight for the rights for families to have children no matter what the circumstances are. We need to embrace the technology we are now provided and pass acts to provide these fundamental rights, especially as the pro-life and religious fights rage on around it. It is extremely important to stabilize assisted conception as the building blocks for loving families and protect those that will continue to seek these services. Even as these issues are not at the top of ballots or on everyone's minds in these economic and war-filled times, I believe that they're extremely important and must therefore be protected.